Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, Cassidy the Aspiring Author. I'm Cassidy. If you're new here, welcome. I'm excited to have you. And if you're not, welcome back. I'm really excited you came back to see me again. So as you can tell, today we're going to be talking about End of Watch by Stephen King. Here's the book. It is the final in the Bill Hodges Trilogy. I made videos on the first two, so if you haven't seen those yet, I'll link them down below. Please go watch them. Otherwise, if you don't know what's going on, this one might be a little bit confusing. And also, massive spoilers for the entire video. I'm going to do a summary of the whole book. So if you want to read it beforehand, please click off, go read the book, and then once you've read it, come back. Tell me what you thought about it. So, in case anyone is interested, this is the bookmark I used while reading. It is Full Metal Alchemist once again. I used this for the first two ones as well. So we're going to finish out the trilogy with that one as well. And if I look down or off to the side, I'm just referring back to my notes because I do not have all of it memorized. I will do my best, but I may need to refer back to these on occasion. So let's get started. So Stephen King, End of Watch. Here's what the back says. He is not done with you yet, is in quotation marks at the very top. And then, for nearly 6 years in room 217 of the Lakes Region Traumatic Brain Injury Clinic, Brady Hartsfield has been in a persistent vegetative state. Complete recovery seems unlikely for the insane perpetrator of the Mercedes massacre, in which 8 people were unalived and many more maimed for life. But behind the vacant stare, Brady is very much awake and aware, having been pumped full of experimental drugs, scheming, biding his time as he trains himself to take full advantage of the deadly new powers that allow him to wreak unimaginable havoc without ever leaving his hospital room. Brady Hartsfield is about to embark on a new reign of terror against thousands of innocents, hell-bent on taking revenge against anyone who crossed his path, with retired police detective Bill Hodges at the very top of that long list. So, my first thoughts before even reading it is, I'm worried about the title. It's called End of Watch, and I know that's what it's called when cops get, retire from the force. It's end of their watch. But End of Watch could also mean not being alive anymore, and so I'm worried that Bill is going to not survive this book. I'm curious about who gave Brady experimental drugs, and obviously it had to be someone in the clinic, but was it like a rogue nurse, rogue doctor? And also, I hope I hope Holly and Jerome are going to be joining Bill for this. They've been his trusted allies for 2 books, and I hope that they get to finish out this series as well. So, let's get started. Alright, so the first section is called April 10th, 2009, Martine Stover. So, it comes to the day of the Mercedes massacre when Bill runs over a bunch of people with the Mercedes. That is book 1. And it talks about 2 paramedics. Their names are Rob and Jason. And they're the first ones on site to this horrible tragedy. And they see a woman who is alive but very badly injured. Her name is Martine Stover. And they save her life. However, she is paralyzed from the chest down. Half her face isn't there. She's in a really rough condition. And that's how we start. It's her story and the paramedics saving her. All right, next section is Z, January 2016. So Bill has a doctor's appointment and he leaves before he gets any results back. He's been having a lot of stomach pain, intense stomach pain, so he went to see what that was about. He leaves before any of the results come back because his old partner Pete calls him to a crime scene of a self-unaliving. And the doctor says that he hates days like this when he looks over the test results, so we know that it's bad news. Bill then goes to pick up Holly, and he lies about his test results, saying that they weren't ready yet, so that Holly wouldn't worry. He didn't want her to know that he left the doctors to go to the crime scene because Holly would not appreciate that. She would be very agitated. They then meet Pete and his partner Izzy at the apartment. It's Martine Stover and her mother. The mother unalived Martine and then herself. Izzy, this whole time, she is annoying. She doesn't understand why Bill is there. It's an open and shut case. This is ridiculous. Pete thinks that there might be more to it because these are not the first victims of the Mercedes massacre that have unalived themselves. There was a couple earlier that was about to be engaged. They did the same. There is the letter Z written at the crime scene. Holly is convinced that there's more, and she finds a Zap-It at the scene. Zap-It being like a tablet-like device where you can play games on it. She finds it hidden in the couch cushions. We also learn that the Stovers were very, very well off, and they could afford round-the-clock help for Martine. This whole time, Pete is wondering if Brady could somehow be behind it because he is known as the unaliving prince, and so is he responsible in some way, besides just the fact that they were victims of his original crime. When Holly finds the Zap-It, she obviously tells Bill. She does not tell Pete or Izzy about it, but Bill knows that he's heard the word Zap-It, and that is because what we know is that that's the device that Brady was looking at in the previous book, I believe it was. At the very end, we see that he loves looking at the games, and the guy who was passing out books and all these things, he told Bill about it and said it was really good for the patients. Bill then calls the housekeeper, Martine, the Stover's housekeeper, and she says that they were a very happy and loving family. There is no reason for them to have unalived themselves, especially the mom, to do that to them. That's very uncharacteristic and very unlike her. And she also mentions a strange man with like a duct taped jacket watching them from across the street, like multiple times. But it wasn't like suspicious enough where she felt like she had to call the cops or anything. She just found it weird and unusual. Now we go to Brady at the hospital, and the head nurse sees that he is doing like telekinesis powers. He's turning lights on and off, water faucet, he's moving stuff. We also learned a little bit about that last book. But she doesn't believe any of the hoopla about what's going on around Brady. She just thinks that he is infamous and people are scared of him by name only. But she also hates him. And so because he is basically comatose, he's alive and conscious, but not really there, is how he portrays himself, we now know. She goes in and abuses him a little bit. I shouldn't say a little bit. She abused him, which is not okay. It feels a little bit justified because it's Brady and we all hate Brady, but it's still not okay for a nurse to do that to any patient. We also learned that it's the doctor who is giving Brady experimental drugs. Brady has some motor movement. He hides that from a lot of people, but he can move a little bit. It's not anywhere near what it was before, and it never will be, but he can move around a little bit. He can like shuffle to the bathroom, and I think he can hold things for like a short period of time. It's not very much, but it's a little. Because of what the housekeeper says, Bill suspects that somebody entered. He suspects the house across the street from the Stovers. He enters it and sees that someone broke in and entered. There is the letter Z written at that crime scene now. Not that it's like an unaliving crime scene, but it's a trespassing crime scene. And there's also a lens cap, so someone was watching, taking photos, all of that. Bill is about to have his makeup doctor's appointment. He knows that it's bad news. He knows that the pain in his stomach isn't just an ulcer or kidney stones. There is something seriously wrong with him. But before that, him and Holly go to meet Pete and Izzy. They decide that they want to tell him everything, that they found the Zap-It at the scene. And unfortunately, that does not go very well because Izzy is a raging bitch, especially to Holly. For some reason, they have this little war going on. And we all love Holly. She's a queen. So we automatically hate Izzy because she's not listening to anybody, and she refuses to believe that anything other than what she thinks happened. We then go to the head nurse's home. Dr. Babineau shows up. He is the doctor who's giving Brady experimental drugs. And he knows that the nurse hates Brady and that she hurt him. How? No idea. But he knows. And Brady in his hospital room is watching the fishing demo game that that is on the Zaplet. He's watching just the demo screen before you actually get into the game. And when the nurse comes in, whatever nurse that is on shift, when she comes in and is like, hey, blah, 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 gotta do stuff, he tells her to leave in very clear words. And she's like, all right, peace. She's not shocked by the fact that he can speak, which means he has been speaking for a while now. And she just leaves. And then Dr. Babineau hands the head nurse a very similar Zaplet and tells her to watch the fishing demo, that she'll keep her job if she counts the pink fish that are swimming across the screen and clicks on them. And then if she can tally up the numbers that they click to. So she's entranced by it. Then she sees a vision of Brady. And it's like a ghostly kind of vision. And he is telling her that Dr. Babineau will fire her, that she'll never get a job in this field again, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you're right. And she's having this full mental breakdown as Brady is telling her these things. And then she unalives herself. We also find out that Dr. Babineau is known to Brady as Dr. Z. Hence the Z's all over the walls and everything, or the couple of Z's that we have found so far at crime scenes. Bill wakes up from sleep because of pain in his stomach, checks and sees that he has a message from under the blue umbrella, which was a huge thing in the very first book, and is how Brady communicated and taunted Bill, and how Bill communicated and taunted Brady. And it says, it's from Z-Boy, and it says, he's not done with you yet. So, obviously meaning Brady, or at least we know it's that, and Bill knows as well. Bill finally gets the results back from the doctor, and he has big C of the pancreatic kind. Next section is called Brady. It is a little bit about his past, his thoughts about the concert that he tried to blow up. He assumes that it was either Bill or Jerome who whacked him and made him into the state that he is in, which thank goodness it was Holly. Thank goodness he does not know about her, because geez, poor thing. He starts getting drugs from Dr. Babineau. They don't do anything at first, but soon he finds out that he can control things with his mind and also inhabit other people's bodies. There is a nurse who has like a slight seizure, like one of those little seizures that kids have. I can't remember what they're called. But during that moment, he's able to enter her mind and like know what she thinks about. And he is standing, he's looking out the window when he is stuck in bed still at this point. He goes back to his body, but now he knows that he can do weird things. Next section is called Blackish. Holly and Bill talk about the Zaplets, and they know that Brady is behind these self-unalivings. They have no idea how, because he is in an almost vegetative state, but they know that it's him. Bill lies to Holly about his pancreatic issues. He just calls it an ulcer. Holly, though, doesn't believe him. She snoops, and she finds out that it's actually the big C. We go to Barbara. She has a Zaplet in her hands, and Brady is like her friend right now, and he is convincing her to self-delete herself in a really bad part of town where just crime, all of that. It's not a good neighborhood. It's not the neighborhood she is used to. And that is when a boy there calls her Blackish, like the TV show. She looks black, but she acts white because she is from a good neighborhood. She gets really upset. Brady's little vision or astral projection thing is telling her that he's right, that she doesn't know the struggle, that she needs to unalive herself to really know what it's like. And she's just thinking, yes, that's true. Oh my goodness. The boy that was teasing her steals the Zaplet from her hands as she's about to walk out into the street. And she's mad, so mad that he took her game, but also she's more mad about the fact that he stopped her attempt. They kind of like not tussle, but she tries to get it back. She ends up walking out into the street as a big truck rolls down. During this time, Babineau is trying to talk to Brady in the hospital room, but Brady's too focused on Barbara and trying to get her to unalive herself. And I think that's rude. Barbara, if in case anyone doesn't remember, is Jerome's little sister. She is now like 15. It's been a couple years. She was at the concert that Brady tried to set a bomb at. And she's just the sweetest thing. And it's so rude. He can't get Jerome, so he gets Brady. It's rude. Barbara's mom then gets a call from the police. That's all we see of that. The mom and Holly both call Jerome, who is currently in Arizona rebuilding houses, and tell him that he has to come home. There's been an accident with Barbara, and he just needs to be there. Bill tries to go see Brady at the hospital, but Babineau stops him, tells him that Bill is bad for Brady's recovery, that every time he sees him, Brady gets set back, blah, blah, blah. He's like irate about it. So instead, Bill makes plans to go with a nurse to a bar so that he can get the inside scoop of everything. The nurse tells him that Babineau is sketchy. She's convinced that he's doing experimental drugs. I can't remember if she knows for sure that he is or if she suspects. I think it's that she suspects he is. But kind of gives him the rundown, tells Bill all the crazy mind stuff that Brady's been pulling, not the inhabiting other people's bodies. Nobody knows that aside from Bill. And I'm assuming, and Babineau. Babineau knows at this point because we also learn that Dr. Z is Brady, but in Dr. Babineau's body. It's creepy, and I hate it. Bill, after he leaves the hospital and before he goes to the bar with the nurse, gets a call from Barbara's mom. Barbara is alive, probably in critical condition, but she's alive, which is something that was not expected. It was not what Brady wanted, so thank God. And then he goes to the hospital. It's actually just a broken leg, which is still tragic. She is a sports player, so that'll set her back, but she is alive, thank God. He goes, once Bill knows that Barbara's okay, he goes to see the boy because he is at a different police station, currently in lockup. Barbara is desperate that he is not like charged in any way, that he's not in trouble, because this boy who was teasing her and stole her game actually saved her life. So Bill goes, he talks to the boy, and it's true. Like, everyone knew it. There were eyewitness statements and Barbara's statement. The boy saved this girl's life, but Bill was able to talk to him. He found out about the Zappet and how Barbara reacted when the Zappet was out of her hands. Holly then goes to see Barbara because Holly is friends with Barbara and Jerome and that family. So she goes to see her, and Barbara really wants to talk to Holly because Holly made self-deletion attempts as well. And so they talk about Barbara's self-deletion attempt and the Zappet. And Barbara doesn't want to die. She wants to live. It was just Brady who was able to get in her mind to plant these seeds and really convince her that self-deletion was what she wanted. Barbara also tells her about the voice that she heard when she was playing that fishing game. Then this section ends with Brady taking over Library Al's body, Library Al being the one who initially gave Brady the Zappet in the first place, and he calls a man about a job. So next section is called Library Al. We get the history of Brady, finding out that his mind worked and that he could think and everything like that, but his body was done. Then he finds out he can enter people's minds, like the nurse with the seizure. It starts with her, and he also finds out he can plant really horrible thoughts in her head. Like bad thoughts that she kind of already had, but make them in the forefront and make it so bad that she wants to die. And that's exactly what she does. She deletes herself from the planet. So initially he just thought that it was during seizures and when people's brains weren't completely there, but he finds out that the fishing game demo has the same kind of hypnotic effect, where if people are really focused on that, then he can enter their minds. However, the fishing demo hypnotic effect only happens during prolonged exposure. When Brady is in Library Al's body, he's the one who actually showed Bill the Zappet, and Brady is like, oh my God, it'd be so great if Bill got entranced. But he looks for a second, takes it away. Brady can't enter his mind when it's such a short time. This section ends with Freddie, who is actually Brady's old co-worker from the first book, his co-worker in like IT. She comes and she gives Brady the photo of him and his mom. Alright, so our next section is badconcert.com. Basically just what you need to know about the title of this is that people who had attended that concert like 6 years prior, that Brady tried to blow up and unalive every single person in that concert. If they went to that website, proved that they went to that concert, they were able to get a free Zap-It in the mail. And you learn that kind of sporadically throughout, but it's not, that part is not the most important thing of this section. So Brady, who is wearing Library L's body, he goes over to Dr. Babineau's house. He shoots and unalives Babineau's wife and tells Babineau that he has to help. Babineau does not want to be a part of this. He does not want to help Brady in any way, but he's in far too deep and he knows that he can't resist. Brady can kind of enter his mind at any point at this point. A good thing to note is that every time Brady enters a mind, that original person loses a little bit more of themselves each and every time. So Brady kind of has to be careful about how often he enters a mind and if he just takes it over completely, where he dictates every action, word, everything, or if it's just like kind of riding in the back seat. Bill then goes to visit Dinah. She is one of Barbara's friends who also got a Zap-It. She tells Bill about the fishing hole game and that with the letter, when she got the Zap-It, because she entered in her photos and stuff for badconcert.com to get the free Zap-It, that if you click the pink fish that's like swimming really fast across the screen and you click the numbers and they add up to a certain amount, then you can win a prize. Bill takes the Zap-It. Dinah's fine with it as long as if he wins the if he gets the number, she gets the prize. And he tests out the fishing hole demo and looks at it and realizes that it is very, very hypnotic. He lost 10 minutes of his time just playing that game. Luckily, Brady did not enter Bill's body because that is just what he can hope for. And so Bill has to be really careful looking at that game and getting hypnotized and entranced. Because if Brady knows that Bill is looking at it, he will without a doubt and without hesitation enter Bill's mind. It's something he can only dream of. Alright, so we go to Freddie, who is Brady's old co-worker. And she is doing work for Dr. Z, which is Brady and Babineau's body. And she gets a lot of money for it. She got to upgrade apartments, everything like that. However, she knows, or at least suspects, that Brady is actually Dr. Z. It's too much like the old coworker that she used to know. When she asks about it, Dr. Z just says that Brady is basically in a comatose state and that she of all people should know because she was visiting Brady on a consistent basis because Brady wanted her to. And she also got like $50 every time she visited him. However, despite the fact that Dr. Z tells her that Brady is comatose, Freddie is not convinced that that is actually the case. She decides that once Dr. Z leaves, she's going to take all the money that he's given her and just leave. She's going to leave the country, or at least minimum the state. And she wants out. However, Brady does not allow that because Brady, wearing Babineau's body, pulls out a gun and shoots her in the chest. Of course, Brady only does this after he reveals that she was right and it actually is Brady. Brady then looks inside Dr. Babineau's mind and destroys it. Obliterates the mind that was Dr. Babineau. And so when he does this, he sees pretty much all of Babineau's memories, with the childhood memories being the last to go. I mean, Babineau was definitely no saint, and he is not somebody who I would say you should give a ton of sympathy for. However, he did not deserve to go out like that. That is horrifying and tragic. Pete calls Bill and tells him about the head nurse's unaliving. They both know that this isn't over. Pete can't really do anything. Pete's about to retire from the force, and his new partner, or his old partner at this point of like a few years, but his new partner from Bill, Izzy, she is not relenting, and she'll be the one taking over all the cases. So she's like, Who cares? It's pretty cut and dry case. Brady then, having just completely taken over Babineaux's body, goes back to the hospital and unalives himself, his body, because he puts a bunch of pills into his own hand, his body's hand, enters the mind just enough to take the pills, swallow them, goes back into Babineaux's body. So now, Brady body no longer existing, Babineau mind no longer existing, Brady mind in Babineau body. Crazy. So from now on, I will be referring to Dr. Babineaux's body with Brady's mind as simply Brady. Just know that it will be Brady in this old doctor's body. After Brady kills his body, he goes back to Babineaux's house where Library Owls is still there, sleeping. He wakes Al up, tells Al that he was the one who actually unalived Babineaux's wife, and to leave Z's all over the place in at least 10 different places. Al has no problem accepting this as true, and he also is, when asked about who he is, he's going to say that he is Z-Boy. So there's Z-Boy and Dr. Z. Brady then he also stages a crime scene in Babineaux's car, blood, a little bit of blood, shot through the windshield. He takes Babineaux's laptop and with a website that Freddie helped create, it's called a repeater. I'm not entirely sure what it does, but he can see that there are 3 people on that fishing hole demo screen. We then go back to Freddie, and she's alive. It's a miracle. It went through a pocket right here, and it went through cigarettes, a flask, and an Altoid tin, and still entered her body, but she was able to dig it out. So the flask was really what stopped the bullet. But she's alive. It's crazy. So once she realizes that she's alive and that it was Brady and that he tried to unalive her, she wants to shut down the repeater program that she helped build, but she knows that Brady will obviously know that it's her, and she's terrified. This man scares her, which, fair. He's insane. Not only is he insane, but now he has supernatural powers. We then go back to Bill. It is his final day. He promised Holly 3 days. He would give this case 3 days, and then he would check himself into treatment for his pancreatic issues. And it is his final day before he promised to go check himself in. So he has to finish this case today. Pete calls him. He's very excited to tell Bill about Brady's unaliving, which is a very exciting thing, but Bill knows that it's still not over. And he knows that Babineau is involved. He asks Holly to show Barbara some pictures of wealthy or older white men and Dr. Babineau. And Barbara points out Dr. Babineau as the guy who gave her the game in a mall or something, the Zap It. Bill knows that he has all the pieces at this point, but he can't put them together. He doesn't know how. And he's stressing because he knows this is his final day, and it's more than that. He knows it needs to finish today. So, Bill calls. He finds out what happened to all the Zap-Its that were supposed to be sold because the company went under. And you're going to have to bear with me with this one for a little bit, because it's a little complicated with all the taking over of bodies. So, they were sold to Brady, who was posing as Myron Zakim, who is Babineaux's body, and Babineaux's body posing as Brady in Babineaux's body gave people the Zap-Its, also saying he was Myron Zakim. I know, it's too complicated. It's insane. However, basically, Brady was behind all of it. Just posing, just in different bodies, saying he was different people. Jerome is now back in town, and he gets fully caught up on where Holly and Bill are at. They still have no idea that Brady is fully alive, at least his mind is, and that he is in Babineaux's body. They know that Babineau is involved. They just don't know how or why. Holly finds out that the fishing demo game was super hypnotic. Everyone knew about it. The Zappit company said that they fixed that game, however they didn't. Probably a big reason why they shut down and went bankrupt in the first place. Pete then calls Bill and he's pissed. He's so angry. He's calling from Babineau's house in like the shed outside. And they see Z's written all over the place. They find Library Al, the wife not alive anymore. And Izzy calls other people. Like, she calls the feds, basically. I don't know if it's exactly the feds, but she calls, like, other people and is, like, handing off the case. And Bill taught Pete to finish the case. And Pete is so mad. He hates Izzy at this point. They have, like, an intense falling out because he thinks that they should finish the case as he was taught to do. And Izzy just doesn't want this messy case on her hands because she wants to be promoted and be like the first woman chief of police, I think it's something like that, which is a great goal, but she is not afraid to not take cases that will look bad on her and her reputation. And so Pete is so mad at her, and he's telling Bill to do whatever it takes to finish this case, and that if Pete can help in any kind of way, that he will. Brady then enters some poor girl's mind and convinces her to jump out of the window, but she lives, and he's stupid. Like, Brady is a very smart individual. He's evil, but he's very smart, but he's dumb. He convinces her to jump out of a second-story window to try to unalive herself. However, where's that normally take? Unless you land horribly, jumping out of a second-story window, you're just going to break a couple bones. And it was snowing, so she landed in, like, a snow pile. She broke a couple of bones. But I would have been more shocked if she had died. Like, come on, Brady. He is so mad about it, though. So agitated that she lived. Jerome gets into a trance by the fishing hole game, like, full-on trance. Not just lost track of 10 minutes like Bill did. Like, is not there anymore. Holly, thankfully, is able to get him out. And even more thankfully, Brady did not choose Jerome to inhabit at that time. Because, God, the second best thing to entering Bill's mind would have been entering Jerome's mind to Brady. They also find this website, like Z the End, like ZEE the End. It's an unaliving website telling everyone that they need to delete themselves from the planet. It has a bunch of hypnotic suggestions. They know that it was Brady who did it, but right now they're not sure how to shut it down. All right, our next section is the unaliving prince. It actually has the word that starts with an S, but yeah. And it's just more history of Brady, how he got Freddie to work for him initially, and that's how we found out that she got paid $50 just to go see Brady. We find out that he was keeping an eye on the Zappit company through Library Al's brain, how he got into Babineau's body, which was basically just Brady as Library Al threatening Babineau to look at the fishing hole game, and then Brady got to enter Babineau's mind. And we learn that he wants to unalive everybody. Not just Bill and Jerome, but everyone who was at the concert, everyone he tried to at the massacre, everything. He wants everyone dead. Everyone. All right, our last big section of the book is called Heads and Skins. So Freddie wakes up with a pounding headache, and she's mad. She knows that she can't shut down the repeater, she can, but she doesn't want to face the backlash from Brady, so she wants to shut down the website, the Z the End website. So she tries, but she's not able to do it on her end. Brady then gets notified that someone tried and failed to shut down the website. And he knows that it's Freddie, so he calls her and threatens her. He says that there are people posted outside, and if she tries anything, he will send them in and destroy her, basically. And she doesn't know that he's bluffing, that there are no people, but she's still scared. Jerome and Holly are really worried about Bill. He's in a ton of pain, and he's showing it. They just want him to be okay. Bill finds out that Freddie was on the approved visitors list to see Brady, and it clicks that Freddie was Bill's old coworker. They're able to find her address from like where all the Zappits went to, because her address is nowhere. But they find her address and go visit her because they need to know what's going on. Brady is going up to Heads and Skins. There's a massive snowstorm coming. He's able to beat it. He goes up to Heads and Skins, which we're unsure at the moment what it is. It's probably a camp. Freddie, when she lets in Brady and Freddie, when she lets in Bill and crew, fills them in about everything. She tells them that Brady is inhabiting mines and all of that. Bill is still skeptical about all of it. Holly fully believes it. She knows that it's true. Bill knows it's true, but doesn't want to. Like, this man is almost 70 years old. He's kind of stuck in his cop ways, and that's not a thing, but he knows that Brady is insane, and that he also had all of these weird powers where he can move things with his mind. So it's not totally out of the realm of possibility that he's able to do these things. Brady enters another mine. He enters a couple of mines basically throughout this whole thing. And besides the girl who jumped out of the window, we see him enter, I think it's 2 more mines, and they both are successful in their self-deletion attempts. Which, it's very sad. You get to learn a little bit about these poor innocent kids. And yeah, because of Brady, they were having a hard time anyway, but then because of Brady, they just finished it. When he gets out, when he comes back into Babineau's body, he sees that the repeater, which is what tells him how many people are looking at the fishing hole demo, that is now offline. He knows that it's Bill. He calls Freddie, and Bill's the one who answers the phone, so then he gets confirmation. I'm not entirely sure why the repeater is so important, though, because he's still able to enter mines, we find out, even with the repeater offline. He just looks at his fishing hole demo and is able to, he sees little dots of other people who are looking at, and he's able to enter the minds of them. So, I'm not entirely sure why that's so important, but he's mad. Bill then calls Pete's partner, Izzy, because there's literally no other choice. He tries to call Pete. Pete doesn't answer. He tries his other contact. She's out of town. So Izzy's the only option, and he tells her this website needs to come down, the The End website. And she's like, do you know how many? And he's like, do it? Or, because we're about to get a mass wave of unalivings. And if you don't do it, I'm going to tell everybody who will listen to me that all of these self-deletions are your fault. That I told you about this and you could have prevented it and you didn't. And so she does it. And Bill's such a badass. Also, Izzy needed to be taken down a peg, so I'm excited about that. Bill and everybody know where to go because of Babineau's history. So they kind of know where Brady will end up going. And the website gets taken down by the police detectives, like the IT team and the police department. Bill and Holly leave Jerome behind because, in worst case scenario, if both Bill and Holly die, Jerome can be the one to say what's going on and put an end to it. Jerome's not super happy about it, but he understands. But as he's driving away, he has a feeling that he's not going to see his friends again. They drive, the snowstorm is fully going on, but they're able to drive through it, and they get a call from Izzy. She's freaking out. She's nearly ready to believe him about all the weird stuff going on because there's so many unalivings, self-unalivings. They get directions from a gas station. The gas station people are really nice. They don't like Babineau, so they're tell Bill everything about it. At some point, while Bill and Holly are driving up, Brady goes outside. We're not sure what we're doing, but as Bill and Holly enter the camp, Heads and Skins, they know, or we find out, that Brady set up a video camera to see when they would show up because he knew that it was only a matter of time before Bill would come. Bill and Holly don't see the video camera, unfortunately, so Brady leaves the Heads and Skins like lodge and goes out to surprise them. Bill wants to go in alone. He wants to try to protect Holly until the end. He ends up falling, not really being able to get up. Again, he is 69 years old and has the big C. So he's in a lot of pain. Holly comes. She's like, this is my fight too. I'm going to help you. Helps him up. Brady surprises them. He catches them off guard. He knocks Holly unconscious and tells Bill, you got it. You can either let her stay out here and freeze, or you can bring her in, but you got to do it. So Bill, as he's in a ton of pain, is able to bring Holly into the lodge. Brady then beats Holly, like kicks her, like keeps kicking her. Bill is desperately trying to get him to stop. He won't, because he's evil and we hate him. Brady had found out at one point that it was Holly who had knocked him unconscious, and that Holly was the one who was there, even though Bill tried to say it was just someone else. Brady's basically able to convince Bill to look at the fishing hole demo, and so that Brady can enter his mind. He does this by threatening Holly, saying he's just going to shoot her in the face. And Bill does it. He gets entranced. Brady starts to enter his mind. Bill can see it. He wants to like push him out, but the fishing hole demo is way too hypnotic. And then Bill's phone goes off, and it's Holly's ringtone that she set up for him, which is, I think, baseball. And that pulls him out, and Bill's able to throw the Zap-It in the fire. And this is the Zap-It that Brady has been using the whole time. He calls it Zap-It Zero. And this is the one that he uses to, like, enter other people's minds. But Bill throws it in the fire. Brady's super mad. Bill takes Brady down. They fight. They grapple. Holly regains consciousness. Shoots Brady in the shoulder. Go Holly. What a queen. Brady, unfortunately, escapes. He has a gun on, like, full automatic. Shoots it. Bill and Holly are on the ground. And then as we see him, like, he uses up that whole clip. I'm not sure what it's called with automatics. But he uses up that whole thing. As he's about to reload, a snowmobile comes and, like, runs him over. We know it's Jerome! Yay! Jerome to the rescue! We find out he came because Barbara basically told him he had to. That if Jerome didn't go and save his friends, that his friends were not going to live. So Jerome comes, saves the day. Brady gets run over by the snowmobile, and his guts are no longer in his body. So as Bill goes over to him, Bill can feel Brady trying to enter his mind, but Bill's strong and pushes him out. Also, Brady is weak as hell. So Brady can't enter his mind. He's in a ton of pain, and he just wants to die. He tells Bill to shoot him. Bill refuses and hands Brady the gun. He says, do it yourself. And he can't, like, move at this point. Holly is actually kind of sweet. And, like, you can tell she feels, like, sympathy and pity for him, which I don't know how you feel that for someone as evil and as Brady has done such atrocious things. But she moves his hand and arm to have the gun pointing at his head. And he still can't move. He can't pull the trigger. But his last supernatural thing that he does, telekinesis thing, is that he pulls the trigger. And Brady deletes himself from the planet. So now we are at the final part. It is called After. Bill is celebrating his 70th birthday. He is doing that while getting treatment for the big C. Everyone's there. His daughter is there. We actually don't see her at all, so we've never met his daughter this whole time. But Jerome, Holly, Barbara, they're all there. Pete's there. We find out Barbara basically has a boyfriend, and it's the boy who saved her life. Yay, cute! We kind of know that Bill won't live much longer. Treatment is working, but Bill is still in a lot of pain. And then 8 months later, we see Holly and Jerome at Bill's grave. They reminisce and they grieve. We find out that Pete is going to take over as Bill's like spot in Finders Keepers. He's going to be tracking people down, but it'll never be the same for Holly. So, ends with Jerome and Holly missing their friend and grieving. And that is the end of the Bill Hodges trilogy. So, I was right. End of watch did not just mean retirement from the police, it meant retirement from life. Overall, I did really like this series. I thought it was really good. However, the last book was just, it felt like it was too supernatural based off of the previous 2 books, which were barely supernatural at all. Like, you didn't see basically nothing in the first book. And then only a tiny bit in the second book. Like, and it was just Brady kind of learning. And us kind of figuring out that he could do these weird things by turning the faucet on and off and the lights and moving him and his mom's picture. And this book, the third book in this trilogy was very Stephen King. It was very like supernatural, spooky, but the first 2 were kind of just straight up murder mysteries. So, I don't know. In my opinion, and it's a little opinion, I have not published anything versus Stephen King, who has published a ton and is best-selling author, but I think it would have been beneficial to maybe have like supernatural aspects in the first 2 so that we weren't so taken out of context really, and that we could kind of like, there was supernatural things, so that there would be supernatural things in every single book. Like maybe a psychic as one of his like colleagues, or like Holly, like the reason she was quirky was because she dreams and her dreams come true. I don't know. I honestly don't. But yeah, overall, I did really like the trilogy. I just felt like as a whole, the third one felt disconnected from the other 2, strictly because it was so supernatural and so like out of left field in that regard. I did like that they brought back the original villain from the first and that he got his like comeuppance and all of that. It was very satisfying. But yeah, tell me what you guys thought. Did you think the same as me? Was the third book kind of like taken out of left field? Do you think that something should have been changed? Or did you love the entire trilogy and wouldn't change a thing? So please comment below, tell me what you think, like if you liked the video, and subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching, bye!